Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dogs and cats, cows and horses, whoever's out there in the listening audience. Welcome to the Common Sense with Conn call-in radio talk show here on KTEM AM 1400 on your radio dial. If you have anything you'd like to talk about, the call-in phone number here is 773-1400. That's 254-773-1400. Okay, if that line's busy or doesn't work or whatever, you might
the second
try.
line's not working either right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so we're down to one right now.
that's the one phone number is the 1400. So feel free to call in and we'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about.
Howdy, everybody. This is Tina.
Yeah, welcome Tina to the show here. She's going to help run this thing, and I need all the help I can get. So, and let me say that, you know, the opening song, I kind of like that song, and I guess there's people like Mr. Kaepernick that doesn't like that song. Well, I like it, and if you're waiting on me to apologize for it, you better bring your sack lunch because it's going to be an all-day wait. I kind of like patriotic things. I like this country, and I don't apologize for it. Now, like Mr. Kaepernick, my question is, how much did they pay him in reward for his bad behavior?
Reportedly $60 million.
If they gave him $60 million to act rudely, what are they encouraging other players to do? I keep making the simple statement. When you reward bad behavior, what the cat hair do you expect to get more of? You're going to get more bad behavior. If you look at the bill that the U.S. Congress just passed and sent to Donald Trump, look at the provisions of that bill. Can you say rewarding bad behavior? Can you say encouraging more illegal immigrants? Can you say encouraging more criminal activity? Can you say encouraging more drugs flowing into the country? That's what it is.
Well, human trafficking,
Human
I think
trafficking,
is one of the biggest things, too.
You know, bringing in kids into the country and using children.
Pedophilia.
Pedophilia. You know, I guess my question is, there were Democrats and Republicans both on that committee that designed that bill that they passed. My question is, we know that the Democrats would have voted for it, but how many Republicans voted for it? And what is their excuse for voting for a bill that is that horrible?
I know.
What is their excuse?
Well, my opinion is that they want to send a very clear message to the voting public that there is no reason for them to be wasting their time voting for Donald Trump because nothing will get accomplished. He will not be able to do anything. And they're going to make sure that they put every obstacle they have humanly possible in front of him to make sure that that happens, that he gets nothing accomplished. And that you need to spend your time trying to find somebody else and supporting them to win in 2020, preferably a Democrat.
Why are they allowing their hatred of Donald Trump to outweigh and overcome their love for America?
Well, isn't it really just their own greedy, selfish, narcissistic, all about them?
I can't imagine what it is. I really can't. You know, how can people listen to Maxine Waters or Alexandria Cortez or whatever and then go out and vote Democrat? How can you listen to those people? Nancy Pelosi, listen to her when she talks. I just assume she has a mental illness of some kind. And I hate to be
Borderline
that critical.
personality disorder.
Yeah.
I think we should change the name of the Democratic Party to BPD Party. Yeah, borderline personality disorder.
Well, they got something different. Now I guess people might say the same thing about me, and that's okay if they do. Uh, but I'm just old-fashioned enough and common sense enough that when I hear Maxine Waters get up there and say what she says, I question her mental ability. And for those people standing in the audience in front of her that clap and cheer and carry on, I really do question their ability to understand what she's saying.
Well, I mean, she does her job very well. Her
Oh,
job is to, cause chaos, distract, and
and
bring people supposedly to the Democratic Party.
and her job to help destroy the country we live in. Is what is the goal of these people? Where do they want to take America? What is the end game for what they're proposing to do? Look at this new Green Deal or whatever you want to call it. Talk about pure idiocy. That stuff is pure. I don't know what else to call it. It is people that figure out things like that have got a mental problem.
Well, I loved this one. Cory Booker. The Green New Deal is bold, like defending the planet from the Nazis, like going to the moon. Our planet is in peril and we need to be bold. If we had ever governed our dreams the way we govern the United States, then we would have never made it to the moon. When our planet was in peril in the past, we came forward to save the earth from the scourge of Nazism and totalitarian regimes. Anyway, that was in Real Clear Politics. They have a video of him and his little spiel.
Listen to what he is saying, and then you have to ask yourself the question: whoever wrote that speech, and whoever said that, be it Cory Booker or whoever, what do they have for a brain? What do they have for common sense? Listen to what he is saying. It's just a whole bunch of gobbledygook that don't mean anything.
But it gets you feeling.
Maybe it's emotional, and get you all excited about the end of the world is coming. We're going to, Earth is going to destroy itself in 12 years. And nobody asked the question, explain to me exactly how that's going to happen. Is the planet Earth going to implode? Are we going to have a asteroid attack on the Earth? How exactly is the Earth going to stop in 12 years? Explain that for me. But the emotional reaction to oh my gosh, the Earth is going to end in 4 years. We got to do something.
But you don't. But this goes right back to my whole thing about people now, particularly anybody under 40. They're so used to instant gratification that they go to work, they play games, they do text messaging, they're disconnected. The games are virtual reality type games, okay, and they're embedded in those. They don't know how to have any kind of relationship with another human being. They don't know how to read anything past, 15 words or 25 words. So all they do is read headlines. They might skim something, but they never pick up the essence of it. Therefore, they never learn anything other than what the headline wants. It's clickbait stuff.
Well,
and the whole world is made that way now.
And they never question why is it in peril.
No, because that requires thinking instead of reacting.
If somebody says to me, "Look at that lady, she's in peril," well, is she on the Titanic ship? That would be a very perilous situation.
She being kidnapped?
Yeah, is she being kidnapped, raped, murdered? Yeah, she'd be in peril.
Is there her car on fire?
So explain to me how the Earth is in peril. How is it, Ms. Cortez claims, that this will all end in 12 years? What's the basis for her saying that? Oh, it's just an emotional statement she's making to get everybody worried about climate change or whatever else it is.
It's gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, it's just, and let's look back. What caused the Ice Age? Now, I'm not a historian, or I'm not anything. I'm just an old dumb country boy.
with an opinion.
But I have read that what caused the Ice Age was volcanic activity. Volcanoes went off and filled the atmosphere with ash and dust and stuff, and that's what caused the Ice Age. I have just a little teeny bit of experience there because I had just moved to Montana when Mount St. Helens exploded over in Washington State, and it covered the area of Montana where I had moved to. It covered that area with ash. It was all over your vehicles, all over the yard. It was everywhere. It just covered like 1 or 2 inches thick everywhere. For example, aircraft could not fly. Ambulances couldn't go down the road because anything with an internal combustion engine could not operate in that atmosphere. Okay, so it kind of, that experience makes me understand how massive volcanic eruptions could cause the Ice Age.
Well, if the Earth is in peril, then shouldn't we look at Yosemite? Because Yosemite is due to blow at any time. The seismic activity has gone up and up and up every single year by large amounts. They say it could go off any time between now and the next 50,000 years. I mean, that's a big window, but it could go off tomorrow also.
Yep, but according to the Democrats, Donald Trump is going to cause this to happen.
Yeah.
And all this global warming stuff, Donald Trump is making it happen.
But with Yosemite, we're going to lose like 2/3 of the population of the planet, supposedly, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's one way to do it. According to a national expert on electromagnetic pulse, if we had EMP hit the electrical grid in the United States, 90% of the population here would die the first year. So
yeah, and our electric grill. I mean, why? Okay, so of all the things they wanted to go and tackle, why don't they tackle rebuilding that? You know why? Because the companies that own the electrical grids, they don't want you in there protecting them. Now that I don't understand, nor have I ever read anything that explained why they don't want you in there protecting them.
It may be that they don't want you in there protecting it, and they also don't want you in there dictating what to do with it.
That's possible.
Because when you have government protection, you also have government control. And that is not how you get to capitalism. That's how you get to socialism or whatever else you
Well,
want
there ain't
to
going to be anything to have capitalism with if we get hit.
But I'm just saying, all this talk from the Democrat Party and Democrat presidential hopefuls about our perilous situation about the earth is all going to end in 12 years. Do we just automatically accept that statement as being true? Or do we, common old Americans, have sense enough to say, what are they talking about?
I think your key word was old. Because I think you have to be over like 55 or 60 to ask those kind of questions, because there's very few people that are younger that stop and ask those. And I don't mean to insult those that are out there that do ask those questions, but I'm saying in a generalized basis, and the more north you go, I think you have to be older to remember and to do that kind of relative thinking.
Do you remember a movie called Soylent Green?
No.
It was a movie with Charlton Heston in it. It was all 40 years ago or something, but in that movie, all the older people, I guess above 50 or 60, something like that, they would bring them into a nice room with some real nice music, lay them on a bed, make them very relaxed and comfortable, and then zap them and kill them. Then they would use the body to produce Soylent Green pills, which was supposed to be food. So, that's a pretty far out.
It's very
movie,
disturbing, the things that you've watched.
Well, it is.
Saying.
But we now have people calling for white genocide. We have people calling for the eradication of toxic masculinity.
Oh, I got a story for that one later on in the show.
Okay.
I got a whole bunch of stuff on that.
Well, it just makes me ask the question: is our society going stark raving mad crazy, or are we getting crazy as a peach orchard borer?
Well, it's just like, I mean, they started publicizing that through a national syndicated cartoon. They had Planned Parenthood on one side of a split screen, and then they had the adult parenthood or adulthood on the other side of it. So you chose which door you were gonna go into according to your age and the dilemma. So if you walked through the adult one, you were going to be abolished.
Yeah,
And so that was 60 and over.
see, a lot of old things that are 60 years and older, like what I just said, crazy as a peach orchard borer. Well, young people today don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't either, and I know quite a few of yours.
Where that saying came from, I think, was people with a big peach orchard. The peaches got ripe, fell off on the ground, got rotten, and started fermenting. And then if you had a hog come in there eating all those,
They got high.
They got real high, real drunk, or whatever, and it got crazy. So the old saying, "He's crazy as a peach orchard borer." Well, that's
funny.
where that saying came from. There are so many old sayings like that are 100 years old or more, and now all of a sudden those sayings have meaning. And I use a lot of those old sayings because they apply today.
Don't they, though?
Like Grandma Conn said, birds of a feather flock together. Okay, look at the people connected to Chicago, Illinois. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Louis Farrakhan. Look at the number of left-wing radical Democrats that are all connected to Chicago, Illinois. Why is that? Do birds of a feather flock together? Yeah, they do. Birds and people. So, look at the people surrounding Barack Obama. These were not all Baptist preachers. They were radical, progressive people that want to destroy the United States of America. Why do you think he wanted to flood this country with Muslim people like what they did in Minnesota? In Minnesota, they brought Barack Obama administration, as I remember right, they brought whole villages of Muslim people from Somalia and put them in Minnesota. Now we have...
That's where we got that Omar woman.
That's right. That's where she came from.
Lucky us. Thank you, Obama.
So now how do you vote her out of office as a representative from Minnesota? How do you get rid of her if a huge portion of the population in Minnesota are Muslims just like she is? They're going to continue to vote for her to go to the U.S. Congress.
Well, not only that, she's female, she's black, and then she's Muslim.
Yeah. So how do you get rid of that? How do you turn Minnesota's Congress people back into Judeo-Christian, freedom-loving, patriotic-loving Americans? How do you do that?
My point is, why do you want to put somebody in office that's filled with hate? Why do you want anybody representing you that's filled with hate? So all of those people are hate filled?
Well, but what does the common freedom loving Christian American voter, what does he use for brains when he goes down there and punches the Democrat button?
Tolerance. I don't know. It's really, I'm trying.
Well, and keep in mind, I was born and raised a Democrat, but not today, not me. But anyway, we're kind of getting off track.
You have
here.
a couple of sponsors you want to talk about, don't you?
Yeah.
And then we got to go to break.
I got some really good sponsors, and we need some more sponsors. If y'all want to keep this show on the air, we're going to have some more sponsors. Uh,
So what he's trying to tell you is if you know of a business that you feel is a patriotic business or is a right-leaning conservative type business that you think might be interested in advertising on this show, then, please by all means mention the show, mention us, and, turn them on to us so that maybe they'd be interested in reaching out and advertising. If you'd like to just sponsor the show, by all means call 254 300 1885, and that'll get you in touch with Mrs. Tatum, Conn's wife, and we can set that up. We also have a GoFundMe account, and that's on our Facebook page, the pinned post.
well, let me give you an example here of some really good sponsors. Extreme Hose. Now, they're out there on General Bruce Drive, 5300 South General Bruce Drive in Temple. Their phone number is 231-3403. Talk to Frank or any of his employees out there. I've been using them for years. They serve the construction, farming, and other businesses that use hoses and hydraulics for big equipment. Whether it's a D8 cat or a Farmall tractor with a front end bucket on it. If you need hoses rebuilt or anything like that, go out there and see old Frank at Extreme Hose, because everything they've done for me has been sure enough worth the money. But you can walk in there with a hose, and I mean they build it quick, fast, and in a hurry, and you can walk back out with a new hose. So they are a very good sponsor of this show, and I like to talk about them because they're just good people. Another group I really like to talk about, and I guess I do it too often, is Academy Paint and Body. They're out there on between Academy and Temple, and their phone number now, if you need paint and body work done or anything like that, 982-0044. Go out there and talk to RC. If your wife runs over a post oak tree with her new car, go out there and talk to them at Academy Paint and Body. Jack Folsom has Reed Realty. He is a good sponsor of this show. If you have some real estate work you need to do, you need to sell a house or buy a house or sell a farm or whatever it is about real estate, they also do rental management. Now, he has moved. He is now at 116 North 3rd Street, right there, right just behind Jack in the Box restaurant. 2-story building right there. That's his new office. So his phone number is 760-4465. Give old Jack a holler if you got some real estate work to do. And I think we're fixing to go to a break. So y'all hang in there, and we'll be back in just a minute.
right, you're on.
Talk to him, Bob. Tell him how to play that fiddle, that old guitar, and that piano. Ah, man, if that don't make you want to get out there on that sawdust floor, I don't know what it would take. Good thing my daddy's not here. He would grab Tina or somebody, and he would be dancing to that song right there. At any rate,
I'm still trying to wait for you to be dancing up and down the hallway with your headset attached.
I'll get to the end of my string here if I ain't careful and jerk my headset off. But at any rate, now that we got past old Bob, we're back on the air with a Common Sense with Conn Radio call-in talk show.
You notice that we have gone through 30 minutes and we haven't had a call? I'm telling you, that must be a record. We normally have 3 or 4 calls by now, so everybody must be at the Mother Earth Festival this weekend.
Well, they might be somewhere, but
or they're freezing. I don't know which.
We're going to keep talking about the problems of the day. So all of you people out there, you're welcome to listen in and call in if you'd like.
Maybe they're all disgusted and they're afraid they can't keep their tongue.
Well, they might be afraid of offending someone, and maybe I should be afraid of offending someone, but I've been offended before, and I got over it. It's one thing I hate to hear about all these victims. Now we got black victims and browns and women victims and criminal victims, and we got everybody's a victim except the average white male. And don't talk to me about being a victim. If you've been hurt sometime in your life, Will called in once that he'd been chased down the road with a stick. Well, get over it.
I think your mama chased you with a stick once, didn't she?
Yeah, my mother would. Yeah. Oh.
Hey, Rick, are you there? Rick and Salado. Hey, Rick.
Yeah, how are y'all?
We're good.
Well, we're doing pretty good. Good to hear from you. What have you got to talk about this morning or this evening?
Well, not Barack Obama. President Trump signed a very long bill. I think it's 1,500 and something pages.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. Nancy Pelosi decided that they don't need to have 72 hours to read that monstrosity.
Yeah, pass it so you can read it.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, President Trump signed it. And he also signed a declaration of a national emergency, and they act like that's the most...
End of the world.
Yeah, they think that he kind of crossed the line constitutionally.
Well, that puts the earth in crisis, don't you know?
But the thing is he's already declared 3 other ones before that, and because it was what both parties wanted, they didn't even put it in the media. They didn't even bother to talk about it.
I don't think anybody even knew what a national emergency declaration was up until this weekend or this week.
Rick, don't you understand that by his signing that, it might cause all the volcanoes to go off? Just no telling what, the end of the earth is coming if he signed that.
Well, they want to get rid of President Trump so bad that since there's no Russian collusion, they're going to go all the way back to all his business deals and all the lawyers he's worked with through the years and all the property that he's ever owned to make sure that...
probably the diapers he wore when he was an infant were probably not environmentally safe.
They're going to find something, and I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I think he ought to be wise to watch his back also.
Well, every day I pray for Donald Trump. Every day I pray for God to protect Donald Trump, because I think he is in danger, no joke.
Yeah, I know, because I know they want to... If they could, they would get rid of him and put Hillary in there, and they think they know how to do it and everything. And, that's how dumb a lot of the American people who vote on the left side are, is they think that Hillary can still be president if they get rid of Trump. I think they actually believe that.
Well, Rick, even those who vote on the right side of the aisle, there were Republicans in that committee that designed that bill they just passed, there were Republicans that voted for it. There were Republican Congress people that voted for it.
I do believe it's both parties.
What's in their brain? What's in a Republican's brain that would make him vote for that bill?
Well, Paul Ryan, he made sure that he obstructed everything that Trump did while he was Speaker. Now that he's gone, and that's why he stayed in office, so that Pelosi could then win and take over. All this, I think, was prearranged and figured out, and they had a strategy.
I don't like to talk about conspiracies. Nobody does, but
the whole thing has been a
George
conspiracy.
Soros is not the only one in the world that hates America. You got George Soros and Tom Steyer, and you got all these very, very rich people, and I don't understand how someone who got rich in America could then turn on America and want to destroy the system that allowed them to become billionaires.
Well, you got to remember, George Soros made his money imploding other countries' economies by exploiting things like the stock markets and things like that.
He's a pest. He's a pest. He just goes from one country to another, consuming them.
Well, and he has made the statement that his lifetime goal is to destroy America.
Yeah, and once a long time ago on 60 Minutes, he was bragging about how he helped round up his fellow Jews in Nazi Germany as a teenager, and they said, "Do you feel guilty about that?" And I'm paraphrasing, and he said, "No, it was a happy time."
Yeah, no regrets.
But, explain something for me real quick, Rick. I know you can. How does an American of Jewish descent, why are some of those people so hell-bent on destroying this country? The Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's, the people like that are of Jewish descent, why do they hate America? Why do they hate Israel?
I think there's a lot of Marxists out there. I'm beginning to think that Marxism is alive and kicking in the United States of America, because these democratic socialists, that's what they call themselves, they say, "Oh, we're not real socialists. We're different. We're democratic socialists."
Yeah, I think that's what Adolf was.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. If that's true, then why does the Democratic Socialist Party celebrate Karl Marx's birthday? Why is that? I mean, why would somebody who's not a socialist or a communist actually bother to celebrate and have festivities on the birth date of Karl Marx?
Well, and who was Karl Marx? He was of Jewish descent. Who was Lenin? Lenin was of Jewish descent. I don't understand.
And so was Adolf Hitler. I mean, he was half Jewish, I believe.
Yeah, he was. But how do those people who, the House of Israel is God's people, how do they turn against godly principles? How do they? I don't understand that. But
well, like I was beginning to say, Marxism seems to be alive and well, and I think that I remember a couple of weeks ago you mentioned this actor Christian Bale. I think his name is.
Right.
He thanked. Did he say the devil or Lucifer or Satan?
No, he thanked Satan.
Satan. Okay.
Yeah, those were his words, not mine. He said he wished to thank Satan for inspiring him in his acting role about Vice President Dick Cheney. But he came out publicly, and everybody heard him say it. And I'm sure, I didn't see it on TV, but I'm sure that the audience that he was speaking to all gave him a round of applause for thanking Satan. So,
well, I think there's a lot of during anti-abortion rallies, pro-life rallies, even in Austin, Texas, you wouldn't think this would go on in Austin, Texas. The counter-protesters, I think to offend the pro-lifers, or maybe they really mean it, I don't know, they shout, "Hail Satan." And once this lady was, they have to stand like, I think it's 20 feet from the abortion clinic to protest, or is it 20 yards? I don't remember. I think it's 20 feet. And this lady's standing out there with her sign, and a doctor walks out of that abortion clinic and starts.
Yeah.
How do you describe it?
No, it's
You
on our
start-
Facebook page. I posted it last week.
Yeah, he was proud of
Yeah,
killing babies.
right.
And he sounded like he was like in a horror movie or something.
Well, and my question, Rick, is it wasn't that many years ago that doctor would have had a really, really hard time making it home.
And look at Antifa, how they act. They're supposed to be anti-fascist. Oh yeah, right. You beat up old men with pro-life signs. You attack pregnant women, and you're supposed to be anti-fascist. So
Well,
I don't know what's going on, but those people are definitely not Christians.
Well, I tell you what's going on, Rick. We have educated out all of the masculinity traits of the American white male that has always defended liberty, defended the meek and the mild, and the women and the kids and the country. We've educated out of them.
All men aren't really big and strong. There are some guys like me that are a little, I don't know if I could defend myself against a really big, strong guy, but if I had a gun, I could, but that's beside the point.
Well, but Rick, I've known some pretty small people that you didn't want to mess with.
But I agree with you. I think that masculine, what did Arnold Schwarzenegger used to call them? Girly men?
Yeah, girly men. And that's what we're producing in this country now. We're not producing Arnold Schwarzenegger.
We're talking about
girly men.
character, not brawn.
Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me, before I go, did you guys ever see that video that this guy, he went into a vape shop, to buy his wife, some kind of flavor of vapor, and his wife's trying to stop smoking. He's wearing a MAGA hat, Make America Great Again hat, and there's another customer in there who's a African American guy, or a black guy. He's just standing there minding his own business. The guy running the shop, he wasn't the owner. He was just an employee. He starts yelling at that guy, and this is a white guy. It looks like a hippie or something, yelling at this really big guy with a Make America Great hat on. He starts yelling at him and cussing at him, and that guy starts recording it on his phone. And he says, "Hey, I just want to buy this for my wife. Can't you just sell it to me?" And he goes, "No, we don't want your kind in here. You're a racist." And the black guy kind of goes, "Hey man, just sell him the stuff." It was the funniest video I've ever seen. And that guy, and that little does that wimpy guy that was yelling at the big guy with the red hat on know that guy had been in prison before, and he didn't want to violate his parole or anything, but he was just this close to beating that guy up for insulting him like he was. And I think he hit him once too, not the big guy, but the little guy.
Let me just make the point that that size doesn't have very much to do with it. It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog that counts. That's another old saying, but I was in a situation.
Well, yeah, I know that, Conn, because when I was a kid, you always meet these bullies at school, and I found out if you stand up to them, they won't do it anymore.
Well, I was in a situation one time years ago where a big fella about 6'6", and I don't know how much pound. Anyway, he was just jumping all over a little girl behind the counter in a restaurant, and he was just really bragging on her, getting nasty and rough. And so I stood up and I just asked him. I said, "Hey, do you ever talk to a grown man that way, or do you just talk to little kids that way?" Well, he got upset, but nobody in that restaurant said a word except me when I went up there and confronted him. But I looked around and there was an older fellow, about 60-something years old, probably about 5'3" or 4", and weighed probably about 150 pounds. He got up out of his chair and walked up and just stood right behind me. And that, he wasn't.
It's the quiet ones you have to worry about.
Yeah,
because they have mileage.
I don't know what he was going to do, but he was backing me up, whatever he was. And I'm just saying, you don't have to be 7 foot tall and weigh 400 pounds to defend the right. And that's what we're educating out of our population, is people who will defend the country, defend the national anthem, defend the flag, defend the poor lady next door.
That will think.
Yeah, that will stand up and be counted.
They can't even do that because they're taught not to think. They're taught not to question. That's a whole other conversation.
Well, Rick, you done got me started now.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Before I go, I just hope that the American people can stand up to this tyranny that we're facing right now.
Well, you do realize that both parties are working very diligently to make sure that the American voter has no more interest in having Trump in office because he's just too much of a liability to get anything that they want done.
Yeah, he's too much of a man's man. They can't have that,
Yeah, he's against the agenda, whatever it is, to destroy America, and they can't have that.
Well, and that is, I believe, Rick, that is their end goal. That is where they want to take us.
All right, thank you for the time.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you for the call, Rick. Now, Rick done got me wound up here, but I asked the question again. What the Republicans that voted for this bill? Now, keep in mind, this bill is going to appropriate millions of dollars to build recreation areas for illegal immigrants wading across the river. It's going to supply lots and lots of billions for medical care for illegals. If you look at the things in this bill that the Congress just passed, it is a huge reward for people who enter the country illegally. Now, what kind of a Democrat would vote for that? But better question is, what kind of a Republican would vote to reward people for bad behavior, reward people for entering the country illegally, maybe with drugs or maybe with small children that they kidnapped in Honduras or whatever.
I just want to know how many politicians are getting kickbacks from the cartels and other things, and how much of a pedophilia circle are some of these politicians involved in? How many of them are pedophiles?
See, that's my question. The Democrats or Republicans that want open borders, why? What do they get out of this? Beto O'Rourke wants total open borders.
He said he would tear them all down if he could.
Yeah, he said he would tear them all down. Okay, why? What is he getting out of open borders? Is he getting a rake off from the drug trade or from the pedophilia people? Or at any rate, here's Lee in Belton, and Lee's going to keep us informed about what's going on here. Lee, go ahead on.
Hey, how you doing there, Conn?
Well, I'm making it.
Hey, I just wanted to say that the big story this week, I think, was McCabe. That's coming on 60 Minutes this Sunday night. What he basically did was, Stein was an attempted coup d'etat against the president of the United States. And what gets me is not that they tried to overthrow a duly elected president of the United States, is that the mass media won't even pick up on it and report this story. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, I keep saying that Donald Trump reminds me of General George S. Custer at the Little Bighorn. Custer was surrounded and outnumbered. And, of course, they finally killed him. But I'm just saying, I'll bet Donald Trump feels like George Custer, because the news media is out to get him, the Democrats are out to get him, the communists are out to get him. Every entity out there that wants to destroy this country hates Donald Trump. And they're doing everything they can do to destroy Donald Trump and the United States of America along with him.
But what gets it's how could you imagine this happening to Barack Obama?
Never.
A coup d'etat?
Never.
Oh, what would the media do? What would, it would, man, I just can't get over this.
Well, it would have taken the FBI or somebody about 30 seconds to put them in jail.
I know there's no reason for me to be stuck on this because I should just stop trying to, I don't know, hold the waves back, But I just don't understand now that all of this has come to light, this bureaucratic coup, all these liars, everybody that was involved. Mueller knew, all his people knew, they're all part of it. And yet it continues. It doesn't stop. Nobody stops it. Nobody calls for it to be stopped.
There's one real obvious answer to that, though, Tina. The FBI many years ago under J. Edgar Hoover, if they wanted to get somebody, they followed the money. Okay, if you look at Jeff Sessions when he was Attorney General, he didn't touch Hillary Clinton or any of those people. Why didn't he?
You think they have somebody following the money?
Well, it begs the question that they either bought him off or they scared him off. Look at the Al Capone system that existed in Chicago. He owned every politician in Chicago. I mean, he either bought them or he scared them.
Okay.
Now, the Hillary Clinton organization, how many people do they own or scare? I don't know, but what other answer is there?
I was hoping you were going to tell me that there was some kind of undercover, super secret, somebody was trying to follow the money down. That's why they didn't shut them down. They just let them keep going until they hung themselves and everything was exposed.
Well, I think that our public officials are either bought off or scared off. Now, they either they won't open borders because they're receiving part of the drug money, or they're part of NAMBLA that wants little kids to come over here. So, I don't know. But what other
I think
reason?
what it is, Con, I just think they hate Trump. I just think that, the Christian Bible, it says that forgive, don't carry hate around inside you. You got to forgive so you can be free. Your soul can be free and you can live a fruitful life and a happy life. And a lot of Democrats cannot live according to that, and they just keep that hate inside them and hate Trump. And I think that's what it is. It's just pure evil hate.
Well,
because
I agree with you, Lee, but let me add one thing to it. The Bible says forgive and forget. And
no, it doesn't say forget. You don't want to forget.
Well, that's
what
I'm
you
saying.
want to forgive.
But the liberal progressives, they keep throwing that in our face. Oh, you got to forgive and forget. Well, only to a point. I'm not going to condemn what you do. I'm going to let God do that when you get upstairs. But as far as the time you're here, I'm going to remember what you're doing to me, and I'm not going to forget it. Because it doesn't make any common sense to forgive and forget to the point of letting them destroy you. And that's what we're doing. We just got 1 minute left to go before the break. So,
do you have a final comment there, Lee?
Yeah. I just want to say that forgiveness to me is not forgetting. Basically, forgiveness is just saying it's not important anymore. Forgetting, you don't want to forget, but you want to forgive and just say this thing's not important anymore. The last thing I want to say is that thank God we got someone in there that's against late-term abortion. That's the reason I'm for Trump, and I'll always be for him whenever he's for the sanctity of life. You all have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for the call, Lee. And Lee, I'm going to assume that if the governor of Virginia runs for president, you're not going to vote for him.
We'll see you on the other side in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you for the call, Lee. Y'all hang in there. We'll be right back.